Good morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. Okay, basically I have a very rare day off work, so tons and tons of things to do, and I thought to kick the day off after I've done the school run with a nice review. What I'm actually trying to do at the moment, I've done a couple which are already up. I'm trying to do some reviews of perfumes that we don't see very often out there. They're not on the hype train, they're not discovered, I suppose would be a better way of putting it, and just trying to bring them out there so you can see some other sort of different perfumes for you to choose that they're a bit more unique, a little less well known, and I think really well worth exploring. So just before Christmas, I popped into Bloom in London's Covent Garden and met the lovely Thomas who works there, who has a fantastic channel. And we had a chat about perfumes and I sniffed quite a few, and one really took my fancy. One I'd never heard of before I went into the store, and certainly one I'd never smelt before. And it's by a company called BOM Perfumer, which are a Parisian artisan perfumer. They have a house that I don't really know much about. There's very little information about them online as well. And when I was trying to research it, their website seems to be in French, so I don't really know too much about it. What I do understand is that they're a house that, excuse me, collaborate with lots of different noses. So, they're constantly using different perfumers to come in and develop the fragrances. They're all just numbered. This one that we're going to talk about today is called 903. Another thing is I've long been championing 30ml bottles, and they do all of their fragrances in 30ml bottles. I think you can get them in 100ml bottles now, which is perfect. They're very reasonably priced as well. So they're not super expensive, and you can buy a 30ml bottle for a decent price. So you're not making a massive financial commitment to something. And I like that as well, because you can kind of collect through them. I did try quite a few in store. There was sort of a close run thing between 903 and another one, and I'm sorry I've forgotten the number of it, which is kind of like a sandalwood dominated affair. But this one here, 903, is like their Oud version, and obviously I was instantly interested because I love Oud. Now I'll just pop it out the box. I'm wearing it at the moment. I'll have another quick spray for the review, and then we'll talk a bit more about the fragrance and we'll go through the notes, etc. So this is how it comes. It comes in a little fold out box like this, and there's your bottle. And little hole in the back so you can pop it out without screwing the box to pieces. So there you have it, a little 30ml bottle, absolutely functional presentation. There's not a lot more to be said about that. And then if you look on the front, it will just say 903 and the notes in French, which are Baie de Nepal, Saffron and Oud. Sorry about my French pronunciation. So basically what you have are Nepalese berries, saffron and Oud. So we'll have a little spray now. This is beautiful. It's such a lovely fragrance. I really enjoy wearing this for a number of reasons. Most of the Ouds that I have tend to have kind of rose with them. In one shape, form or another, there's always like a rosy element, and Oud and rose traditionally have always gone together, and they do go together very well. But there's no rose in this at all. Saffron is another material that's often tied together with Oud for obvious reasons. They work very well together, and saffron is a beautiful ingredient to cook with, and it lends itself to perfumery very well. It has a nice sweet, almost deep sweetness that comes across as quite non-cloying, non-synthetic, and again saffron is used an awful lot in perfumery. And then you have something called Nepalese berries, which I know nothing about, and you do get a kind of a fruity note to it. This opens very sweet, with a little depth. The Oud that they're using does smell very realistic, but it's quite cleverly done. It's not a clean Oud, so it's not like an Oud, Tom Ford Oud wood or something like that. There's a little bit of an animalic skank in there, but it's very subtle. It's not punchy, it's not big, and it's not heavy. It's quite, the whole perfume is very light. It's very airy, and it's quite a soft wear, so it when you first spray it, like I've just done there, you can see there's a bit of a sheen on my hand. It's another one that takes a little while to sink into your skin, and at this stage it does project quite well. It kicks out a fair bit, and people around you can smell you. There is a little sillage that comes off this for the first hour or so you do get a bit of a scent trail. But it's actually quite a soft perfume. It lasts quite a long time. You've got a good 7 or 8 hours wear out of this, so it'll get you through a working day, no problem at all. But it's never going to be monstrous. It's not beast mode in any way, shape or form. It's a very easy wear. This is also quite a rare beast. It's one of those perfumes that my wife actually likes me wearing, and she'll say, oh, it smells nice. When I first got this was the beginning of my everlasting cold. So I smelt it on paper in store, and I thought the paper smelled great, and then I couldn't smell anything. So I wore it quite a bit around my wife, and I was constantly sort of saying, can you smell that? And she's like, yes, you smell nice. Will you shut up? So, it does smell nice. So now my kind of sort of cold is finally on the move. I can smell it now, and it's a sweet, light, airy thing. The berries are very good, and what they do with this is they add a sweetness which kind of complements the saffron. They don't fight. It's not overly sweet. If you would sort of say put a large dollop of honey in this, it would become very, very cloying and very, very overly sweet, if you like. And there's a little sharpness with the berries that I think work quite well with the saffron. This is all, there's no sandalwood mentioned in this. It's, as I say, it just says Nepalese berries, saffron and oud, but there's a woody base to this, which gives it a lovely platform. This is a really enchanting fragrance, and it's a great one for work. If you want to wear something a bit more unique and a bit more interesting at work, this would be perfect because it's not too strong. You're not going to choke anybody out in the office, and you're not going to be the cologne guy. You're going to smell nice, and you're going to smell nice for your entire working day. I think this is completely unisex. And more importantly, what I think about this one, it's quite unique. It would appeal to those that aren't overly familiar with oud and a little bit nervous about sort of going down the oud path, because it's not too much. It's not too skanky. It's not too animalic. It's not too rough. It's not too deep. It's not scary because it's such a light, airy fragrance. It can easily be worn by someone who isn't particularly into oud, and this is where it gets really interesting to me. Someone like me who likes oud and wears quite a lot of oudy fragrances, there's enough of that oud in there to still make it interesting, to still make it pertinent to someone like myself who likes a heavier oud. As I say, this would be really, really good if I'm going to a meeting and I want to wear something that's not, particularly citrusy or particularly light or flowery. I want something that's a bit more like me, a bit more like the sort of perfume that I like to wear. But it's not going to scare anyone. It's not, it's not going to be over the top with it or anything like that. As I say, I don't see much online about this, and that kind of surprises me because I think this is a really, really good fragrance. Don't get me wrong. And I think, this is a really, really good way of getting into oud. Really good stuff. What I will say though, when it dries down, the sort of sweet, almost animalic note is still there. It kind of goes all the way through the length of the fragrance. It doesn't disappear. But when it dries down, it starts to remind me of this, which is Otto Parezi's Sturkus. Now, Sturkus is a big hitter. This is a very heavy frag. It's absolutely wonderful. I love it to death. But this may be a little bit too much for, someone who's, kind of, as I said earlier, going down that oud path. So what you've got with this is you've got this dried down. When this opens up, when Sturkus opens up, you get a real kind of hint of an indie oud. So it's kind of very funky, very animalic and very powerful. Whereas this does the same kind of thing, but on a lighter basis. They're both sweet, and they both have a kind of almost nutty, woodsy dry down. This almost feels a little bit dusty. It's a very dry, despite the fact it's got berries in it, it to me seems a very dry fragrance, which, if you like a dry fragrance, that's all well and good. If you're looking for some sort of wet, glistening, rich, sort of syrupy, really fruity type fragrance, this isn't it. This doesn't come across like that at all. This to me is sort of, when I close my eyes and smell it, I get sweet, dry woods with the little bit of animalic funk in there. But, you know, please don't draw, you know, I know I keep saying animalic funk, but it's not really, if you know what I mean. This animalic funk, if that makes any sense. Sorry if I feel like I'm, you know, sounding like I'm going a bit crazy. But what I'm trying to get across is this is a sweet, light, oody, dry, woodsy fragrance, and I really recommended it. I actually recommended this to a very good friend of mine who's mad about fragrances and has huge amounts of fragrance and, you know, a lot more experience in the fragrance industry than I have. And when I got this, I sent him a tiny dribble of it, and he's already bought a bottle. He really liked it. So, you know, take my word for it, this is a good one. Certainly try and try it. I'm going to hopefully go back to Bloom in the next couple of days and go through some more of the BOM Perfumer range, or BOM Perfumer collection, because I think this is a really good fragrance. Really interesting stuff, and worth exploring. Functional presentation, let's not get too excited about that. That's about as functional as it gets. Sprays well, 30ml bottles, really good pricing too. So if you're stuck for ideas and you're looking for something a little bit more interesting, a little bit different, and something that you're pretty much guaranteed nobody else is going to be wearing, have a look at BOM Perfumer's 903. As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time. We really enjoy putting these videos out. We'd love to see some, you know, we've got some, quite a few new subscribers have come on board as well, so welcome. And hopefully we'll see some more. And if you are dipping in and you want to see some more of this kind of fairly interesting stuff, we hope, subscribe and stick with the channel, because we're trying to get out as many things as we can. And the whole ethos here is that, you know, me and Rich from Questioning Sense, we go through our perfume collection and we review stuff that we like and we find interesting. And we're trying not to, you know, just do Sauvage and things like that. You know, things that are a little bit more unique and a little bit more refreshing out there in this saturated world of perfume. Anyway, thanks very much for your time. Bye!